Mr. Prime Minister, while you were abroad, you chose to quietly come back into this country, quietly slipping in like a thief in the night, only to jet off again today to go to Suriname. We wish you well. You said that you had a significant cardiac procedure. We wish you a speedy recovery. But I want to remind you, there is a thin line between the privacy of the Prime Minister and the role of the head of government. You came this evening to put a spin on your narrative. So you spoke about a food crisis. After 7 years and a pandemic, the Prime Minister of this country has now discovered that there is a food security crisis in our country, and he intends to give some priority to that crisis. The Prime Minister, in his attempt to spin the conversation and to filibuster at his press conference, also took the time to speak about some Caribbean boat transport system. Your government cannot even manage our own transport system on land, but you're talking about a Caribbean boat transport. It should be noted that the CARICOM meeting that the Prime Minister is jetting off to has been going on for weeks. Is Minister Amory Brown already in Suriname? What we witnessed today is a Prime Minister on the run. A Prime Minister literally refusing to answer questions put to him, legitimate questions by the media, while the nation is plagued with runaway crime and murder, high food prices and mass unemployment. The Prime Minister is ducking and running from these issues. This morning there were murders in the heart of Port of Spain. There is no plan from this hapless, weak, bankrupt, intellectually bankrupt, bullying, wajang behavior displayed by the Prime Minister on the issue of crime. He has no plans for crime. What he says, we must treat it as a health emergency issue. And when he's asked to expand and elaborate, he had no answer. You know why? It is just VAPs. No thinking. So there's no plan to help and or assist the vulnerable, the marginalized on rising food prices. There is no plan to get our economy working again. Instead, this evening, the Prime Minister, in a fit of rage, in a bout of insanity, in a period of abnormal, almost being abnormal in his conduct, the Prime Minister spent most of his time talking about what? Maduro? Which country is the Prime Minister really in charge of? He also spoke about the institutional collapse in Haiti. Is he aware that his own government is collapsing? The Prime Minister press conference earlier this evening failed to deal with the critical issues facing our country. Chiefly, mainly, the scandal involving the Attorney General and his admission that he failed to tell the truth in an affidavit in a U.S. court. That is a scandal. By all reasonable standards, in any democracy in the world, AG Reginald Amo should have tendered his resignation weeks ago. This scenario is made all the more strange that Rowley's Attorney General is facing a firestorm given his admission of making false statements in a U.S. affidavit. Yes, Mr. Prime Minister, he made false statements and the court disqualified him. He did not recuse himself. Maybe he wanted to do that. But the court in its judgment, Mr. Prime Minister, are you going mad? You are not reading? You just told the country you have an elephant memory. Didn't you not read the judgment that says that your AG has been disqualified and he cannot appear in the courts? What is wrong with you, Mr. Prime Minister? Are you okay? Are you well? You displayed a bout of temporary insanity when you shut down the media a short while ago, insulted the media, and more importantly, you disrespected thousands and thousands of lawyers who are represented by the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago. And you are talking about institutional breakdown in Haiti when you are contributing by your utterances the very institutions that have broken down in Haiti. You are breaking down our own institutions in the country by attacking the Law Association in the way that you have. Added to this sordid affair is the recent ruling by the Privy Council detailing extreme political bias by your party, who was in government, and your former Attorney General, John Jeremy. The Privy Council, the highest court of our land, talked about extreme political bias and a former chief magistrate being hopelessly compromised. It talked about interference by a former PNM government in a serious legal matter that cost the taxpayers millions of dollars, and you want to dismiss that? There are also much publicized rumors among PNM insiders stating that a high-ranking official from Trinidad and Tobago has been answering questions in the United States over allegations of money laundering. Given that the Prime Minister stated aim for his trip to the United States was to discuss banking and issues surrounding money laundering in the Caribbean, one would have assumed that he would have taken a special interest in addressing these rumors and not to dismiss in a flippant, arbitrary, whimsical manner legitimate questions posed to you as Prime Minister by the media? It is clear that rather than confronting these and other pressing issues facing the nation, such as sky-high crime, rocketing food prices, and mass unemployment, the raging bull, the man that Patrick Manning described as a raging bull, look how he behaved today in the eyes of the people and in the full view of the world. His behavior was reprehensible, indefensible, inexcusable, un-prime ministerial. This man needs some serious attention. It appears that he's not well. How can a prime minister behave in this wajank manner as he has done? Totally unacceptable, totally inexcusable. And United National Congress, the alternative government, wrongly, comprehensively condemn this repugnance that we have just witnessed. This reprehensible behavior displayed by the Prime Minister of this country. It is clear, brothers and sisters, that after 7 years of running our nation into the ground, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley has now abandoned his post. Members of the media, there are some issues and some questions that we would like to raise before I bring my meeting, this press conference rather, to an end. Because the Prime Minister attempted to answer and the questions that the media posed to him, and the way he has dismissed those questions. I would like to ask the questions once again that the media posed, in not the words that I'm going to describe in advance, but very, very close to what I'm about to raise. I asked the Prime Minister in a sober manner, in a calm manner, to clear the air on several concerns swirling in the public space at this time. And not in this bullying, wajang, and reprehensible manner. Not in this contemptuous, disrespectful way, Mr. Prime Minister. No way, no way you can be excused for your conduct today at Piaku. Mr. Prime Minister, we cast no aspersions. We seek answers to questions. You have been abroad for over close to a month. No communication with the people. No contact with the people whatsoever. A tropical storm or cyclone, we were told, was about to hit us. You did not have the time to have a Zoom meeting to calm the fears of the population while you were in Miami for almost a month. And you come here midnight, as you claim, 11:25. You arrived here Friday night, and now you are back out couple hours later. The first question I want to ask on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago is this. Does the Prime Minister or his minister in the office of the Prime Minister know whether a high public official is being investigated for potential money laundering in the United States? That's a question that you have to answer properly, adequately. The public needs to know whether you are aware of this development. Can the Prime Minister provide to the country a detailed and full account of his whereabouts from June the 6th to June the 30th, 2022? The Summit of Americas ended on the 10th, Friday the 10th of June. Where were you between the 10th of June or the 11th of June to the 30th of June? Where were you? You need to account to the population. You were not in California on your money. You didn't go to California at your expense. It is the taxpayers' money that kept you alive in California. So you owe it to the taxpayers to account for your stay in California. Detailed timelines. You have a duty to provide us with that, and not to bully the population. Mr. Prime Minister, we are not taking that from you. If you're tired, go home. If you're fed up, call a general elections and let the people decide on your future. But don't come and bully people. You are not a dictator. You are not Maduro. And we will not permit you to speak to the people in that way. We condemn your action and your behavior. That's our orangutan behavior coming from a Prime Minister. No Prime Minister should address a nation like that. And no Prime Minister should insult the media like how you insulted the media today. And no Prime Minister should insult thousands of lawyers represented by the Law Association as you have done today. Shame on you, Mr. Prime Minister. Another question the people are asking, and we need clarification. Mr. Prime Minister, does the Prime Minister know of any high official who has been questioned by the U.S. compliance officers as part of an enhanced customer due diligence, a customer process of checks to assist in identifying clients to make sure that they are who they say they are? We are asking questions, Mr. Prime Minister, because the citizens are concerned. And Mr. Prime Minister, can you tell this country, can you indicate if you know of any high official whose financial transactions in the United States have been monitored where suspicious source of wealth and source of fund transactions were discovered, which require further explanation as they appear to breach AML CFT, anti-money laundering, combating the financing of terrorism rules and guidelines? These are serious questions. These are serious concerns currently swirling in the public space, given the unusual and unprecedented period of time that the Prime Minister has staged or has stayed away from our country without any proper explanation emanating from his office or coming from the Prime Minister himself. Honorable Prime Minister, we call on you to provide detailed answers to these questions that the population is demanding and crying out for. Members of the media, I will pause at this time, and if you have any questions you may wish to pose on this matter involving the meltdown of the Prime Minister, his conduct, which is absolutely reprehensible and must be totally, comprehensively, and completely condemned by all and sundry in this country, let me indicate that we are prepared to facilitate your questions at this time.
Senator Mark, we have a few questions coming in. First one, this afternoon the Prime Minister kept insisting that the Attorney General was not disqualified from the courts of Miami. How do you respond to that?
The Prime Minister says he has an elephant memory. I can't doubt him that he has such a memory. But members of the media, sometimes you may have lapses, sometimes you may have meltdowns, as the Prime Minister demonstrated today at the press conference. He had a meltdown, so he may have forgotten. But Mr. Prime Minister, if you have forgotten, allow me to remind you again. This is a judgment, and if you don't have a copy, we can make a copy available to you. Or I dare say, ask your Attorney General to make a copy available to you. The Prime Minister told a blatant lie today. It was a blatant and brazen lie when he said that his Attorney General was not disqualified from the court hearing in Miami. That is a lie. A judgment came out disqualifying Reginald Amo as Attorney General from attending and or representing the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So the Prime Minister was totally wrong on this matter, and maybe, as I said, he may have had a temporary mental lapse at the material time when he made the statement. So I want to correct the records. It is true. Reginald Amo, Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago, cannot appear in this particular Miami court because he was disqualified.
Senator Mark, the Prime Minister also said that he had no confidence in the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago and that he wanted to actually have a vote of no confidence in them so he could vote against them. How do you respond to that?
Our Prime Minister is completely disrespectful to not only the Law Association, but many of our institutions in our country, whether it be the office of the President that he compromised, the Police Service Commission in which the entire Service Commission had to resign, whether it has to do with Special Branch report on his Minister of National Service and Youth Development in which he poo-pooed. The Prime Minister has total disrespect for institutions. The Law Association is a legally, properly, legally incorporated body in Trinidad and Tobago, representing the interests of lawyers for decades in Trinidad and Tobago. And the Prime Minister is totally out of line to be condemning and attacking mocking and showing utter contempt and disrespect and contumely to this body. And therefore, we condemn in the strongest possible way his behavior and conduct towards the Law Association. The Law Association, they have their own rules, they have their own regulations. They have taken a decision to hold a special meeting to file a vote of no confidence or to hold a vote of no confidence in the Attorney General. That is their right. That is in their rules. Those are matters in their regulations, and the Prime Minister must stay out of the Law Association business. I want to tell the Prime Minister, don't wait on any vote as it relates to the Law Association. You ain't getting no chance to vote against the Law Association. What we will tell you is that the people are waiting on you with bated breath for them to have a vote of no confidence in you. Mr. Prime Minister, the Labour movement just moved a vote of no confidence in you and your administration. And the people are saying, Mr. Prime Minister, they have had enough of you and your corrupt, criminal, kleptocratic, authoritarian and tyrannical administration. And they are calling on you to call in a snap elections. We understand you might be contemplating calling one. If you are contemplating calling a snap elections, we welcome it. The people are fed up, Mr. Prime Minister, and we condemn your action and your utterances against the Law Association.
Senator Mark, the Prime Minister this afternoon pointedly refused to answer questions on whether or not due diligence was done by him in the selection of Mr. Amo. How do you respond to the Prime Minister's refusal to comment on that?
This Prime Minister is a very lazy Prime Minister. This Prime Minister does not take his duties properly and responsibly. It is not the first time that the Prime Minister has been caught wanting. You remember a fellow called Robert Lehunt? When he appointed Robert Lehunt as his Minister of Public Utilities, and he found out later on that the gentleman had dual citizenship, and he was a citizen of both Ghana and Trinidad and Tobago, and he had to send Robert Lehunt back to a place called Ghana so he could renounce his citizenship. That was an absence of due diligence. We are not surprised that this Prime Minister has again committed a blunder in properly understanding and investigating the background of his Attorney General. Didn't he know that his Attorney General represented Brian Quaita and certain members in the Piarco matter since 2004? Didn't the Prime Minister know that when you placed the gentleman as Attorney General, he would have been conflicted? No, the Prime Minister does not take his time. He does not carry out due diligence. He is more concerned with golfing. He is more concerned in getting into the Congo line with Maduro. He is more concerned with selling out our resources to friends and financiers. And by the way, Mr. Prime Minister, could you tell this country whether you met in California? San Jose is in California. The two electricians, the Myers brothers from Quanten LLC, they have a small suite in San Jose, California. Could you tell this country whether you visited them or they visited you? Could you tell this country whether you had an audience with the Myers brothers? That is a very interesting question, because you haven't given us any account while you were out there. No? So we need to ask that question.
Okay, Senator Mark, one last question. The Prime Minister appeared to suggest that even if the Law Association were to vote, were to find no confidence in Mr. Amor, that he would still not remove him?
We are not surprised. We are not surprised. The Prime Minister is a lawbreaker. The Prime Minister undermined the constitution of our country by going directly to the President, according to him, to ask the President through the Police Service Commission Chairman to do certain things according to the story. Prime Minister, if I'm wrong, correct me. So you are a purveyor of destruction. You are an architect of undermining institutions in our country. So we are not surprised. Listen, the Prime Minister, members of the media, is the leader of the Brotherhood of Wrongdoers. He leads a confederacy of wrongdoers. That is what the Prime Minister is in charge of. His government reminds me of Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. That is why we call them a kleptocratic administration. Kleptocracy means a government run by thieves. That is what a kleptocracy is. So we are not surprised he will not fire or dismiss Mr. Reginald Amor when a no confidence motion is eventually, probably, I don't know what decision will be, but assuming that it is passed by the Law Association and it is sent to the Prime Minister and his Attorney General, we wouldn't be surprised. He has done nothing with Foster Cummings. With all the information coming to his attention, he has done nothing about Foster Cummings. He is saying he will do nothing about this gentleman called A.G. Reginald Amor. The Prime Minister condones wrongdoing. He leads a cult. He is the head of the Cosa Nostra. And their motto is secrecy. And they lead a brotherhood of wrongdoers. A confederacy of wrongdoers. So we will not be surprised, and we are not surprised that the Prime Minister, even if upon the passage, if that happens, of a motion of no confidence, will not remove his Attorney General. We are not surprised. Members of the media, we'd like to thank you for being with us today. We thought it wise and proper to immediately respond to the lies, half-truths, falsehoods, innuendo coming from the lips of a wajang, coming from the lips of a bully, coming from the lips of a gentleman that is unfit to be our Prime Minister. We are not surprised, but we thought it necessary to hold this press conference so that we wouldn't allow lies to run away in this period. So we had to be here to share with you and to address some of the facts facing our country arising out of our Prime Minister, who has been missing in action for almost 1 month. And he comes in here like a raging bull, insulting, disrespecting, and showing total contempt and contumely to the people of this country, including members of the media and the tens and the thousands of lawyers represented by the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Finally, we meet with you tomorrow as usual at 10:30 a.m. promptly, when we have our usual weekly Sunday press briefing. And our virtual meeting resumes after the stunning victory of our leader and the star team at the recently held elections within the United National Congress. We shall resume our virtual meetings on Monday of next week. So look of next week. So we ask you to look forward, tune in to our Monday meeting, tune in to our normal weekly Sunday press media conference. Members of the media, members of this great society, citizens of this country, I bid you good evening. I ask you to remain safe and listen. No matter how dark the hour may be, no matter how torturous and long the journey may appear to be, just as the night follows the day, the sun will rise again. The sun will rise again from this darkness of secrecy in this nation. Thank you, members of the media.